What is going on, everybody? Chris Nirvana Tool here. And this is a stream that is coming a week late to you guys. It's also coming unprompted. I have not sent out a notification. Hopefully you all got my notifications via Twitch as I check my phone to see if it works. Hopefully it all went out. But anyway, we are here to talk about the latest update to the Ancients rule set that was released on, according to the date of this article that you are now seeing on the screen, October 21st, 2022. So as you all know, or for those who are kind of new to this and don't really know exactly what's going on here, the Ancients list is the list that most of the community for Warlord CCG plays in the online format. Also, a lot of our in-person tournaments have been Ancients as well. And every year or so, the Guardians have a discussion to, review any possible changes that may need to be, that may need to come into the environment just to change things up, to fix some broken interactions that all have popped up in the past year, or, also revisit a little bit of the data that was discussed a year prior and just see, okay, now let's revisit this and see what's going on. So anyway, we are here to kind of talk about that. Again, just a few caveats to this. Obviously, first things first, in full disclosure, I am one of those Guardians, so I was a part of this decision. I will not be talking details of where every Guardian stood or anything. I will tell you what my opinions were and where I stood. I will not air out any Guardian dirty laundry, but I will also give insight into the process and just in terms of just kind of what we were thinking as well. So I will give that. That's for sure. But at the same time, any of the opinions that are shared here are completely my own, do not represent the entire Guardians, and it is simply just me. Whether or not people agree or disagree, that is totally cool, because, I know there are some people, whatever we make any changes to Ancients, they're like, oh my God, this is awful. How dare you take away any cards I like? This is awful. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's always great, too, when that happens, and they're like, are these even made by people who play the game? Has anyone ever actually played Warlords? This is so dumb. How could you really think this? It's like, I've been making these videos for 2 years. You guys have watched me play. If y'all don't know that I know what I'm doing in this game by now, then you know what? Ignorance is bliss, my friend. But either way, I'm pretty okay at this game. And I like to think I know what I'm talking about. So all of that experience drives any of my opinions here. So anyway, there's that going on. So again, it's all opinionated, and we're going to see what's going on. So, and all right, I can already see Gracchus is already starting with this. Yes, the Twitch notification didn't fire. That is not good. Well, somebody, you got here. You should probably send out a Discord notification. Hey, Gracchus. I'm going to ask you to do me a favor so that I can actually continue with this stream, because I'm also using it to record my VOD. If you would like to plug that I have this stream here on Discord, I would greatly appreciate it. Don't know why notifications didn't go out. I got my notification on my phone. Hold on, let me, I do have tech support here. I can check that. Hey, darling, you didn't get a notification? Oh, okay. My tech support, AKA my wife, also did not get a notification. Are you going to yell at me for at everyone? No, but just do it. Just do it, Gracchus. It's fine. Somebody's got to do it, right? You can say Vac told me to do this. So whatever. Josh can yell at me, or Woodrow can yell at me. Whatever. Wouldn't be anywhere out of the norm. I'm the bad guy on the moderation team. I'm not a mod. I'm a rules guy. Anyway. It's funny. I'm a rules guy. How about that? But anyway, let's get into this discussion. So first things first, what you're seeing on the screen here, this is the article posted on sagaofthestorm.com. If you would like to, look back at it anytime, you don't have to watch my video, though I appreciate that. Just go to sagaofthestorm.com. There's a lot of resources on this site if you're not familiar with it as well. If you're newer to the community, or if you're just a casual viewer of some of my videos, this is where you get a lot of the latest news, events, upcoming online tournaments, definitely check out this site. So what we have here is the update format. So I've got to stop to appreciate this Photoshop that probably took way too long and probably delayed the posting of this article. But it is still very well done. What we see here is a good old truck.
Yes, it is cool, I thought.
Here we go.
Free hat.
Sandington, who yelled at me to wait 20 minutes. And yes, the head is now very shiny. Chat not working for me. That's not good. All right, well, now it's working for you. Okay, cool. So I don't know what's going on, guys, but you're all just in time. You haven't missed anything other than, just my... the hat's gone. All right. All you've missed is me giving some caveats and some, giving some disclaimers about things that aren't important anyway. But what we have here is the nice little cover image. It's clearly a truck driven by Fatraka, a.k.a. Trucker. Zod, though, technically Zod's actually driving this truck. Unless this is in Europe. If this is a European trucker, then yeah, Fatraka's in the driver's seat. So whoever photoshopped this, I'm just gonna... You did get the Twitch notice. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate it. And Sanji, gifting out a sub. Thank you, bud. See? You told me to wait till 9:30 Eastern. Don't worry. I got started. Oh, I love it, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you, Gracchus, for the gifted sub. You guys are awesome. So what we have here, again, Europe. We're going to say this is Europe. So even though it looks like deserts in the background. I don't know. Are there those European deserts? Somebody tell me if there's a European desert. There's got to be, right? Or no, because then you start getting into the Middle East. I mean, you could probably get there with some... No, I think you have to take a boat. I don't know. I am not really picturing a map of Europe right now. But to our Europeans, if you guys have deserts, good for you. But this is clearly just a funny Photoshop thing. Zod running on some Monster Energy drink. There we go. That'd be King Kyle instead of King Zod. But truck simulation here. So this is obviously in terms of Fatraka being a very focal point of these updates. And that becomes very evident when you see some of these cards. And you can already kind of see a preview of some of these cards they hit. They're getting hit by a truck. So, and it's almost like we're blaming Fatraka for these, though only one of those cards that are being run over is because of Fatraka. Two of them are because of Zod. And then a few of them are just innocent bystanders. But this article was written by AJ Foster, a.k.a. Deadly Penguin 9K. I think he also goes by Elvern the Hero sometimes. Fat Kid thought it was two people, by the way. So if you ever talk to Midge, just remind him who AJ Foster is, because he still doesn't know. But he was nice enough to write up this article. I'm not going to obviously talk about everything here, but he just kind of outlines everything that we kind of... how we got to here. So give this a read whenever you get a chance. But I'm going to go right into just the changes. And we're going to go one by one on each change. I'm going to explain it a little bit, and then I'm going to give you guys just my opinion. Guys in chat, feel free to share if you guys have opinions as well. Obviously, we'll do a closing thing at the end and just talk about things we're going to miss. But we're going to start with the things that got hit. So first things first, after I've been vamping for the last 10 minutes, we're actually getting into the meat of this. So hopefully you fast forwarded 10 minutes in the YouTube VOD. But we're getting right down to Arcane Quartet and Cerebral, which are pictured here. But really, what got hit here is the Ancients Errata section. So one of the things that we need to kind of share, and the position of the Guardians, and this also kind of affects, a lot of people like, why didn't I do X, Y, Z? Or why don't they just try to errata this or that? The position of the Guardians currently, and I don't see this ever changing, is that errata is the absolute last resort and really shouldn't even be considered in just about every single case. You want to avoid errata as well. Now, you kind of say, like, isn't that weird? Like, isn't there a whole bunch of errata throughout the history of the game? Yes. But one of the biggest complaints that we see from especially players who are just kind of coming back, they may have played Warlord a while back, now they're kind of getting back into the groove. They don't remember a lot of this stuff, so they're just kind of taking the cards for face value as they are in Accordlands. And we do have the errata posted there, but sometimes People miss it. People make mistakes. They're just kind of rushing, and they're looking at the pretty pictures. They're not looking at the text. They don't care. People actually don't read. It's true. This is why I come to you in video format. But the idea is the biggest feels bad is when someone builds a deck, plays a game, and midway through the game, or even the tournament, worse, they find out that the card that they're playing doesn't do exactly what it says. A lot of people probably on this stream right now, like, probably have, been victim to that, specifically Sanji. But that was a ruling thing. That wasn't really an errata thing. But either way, it's still the same principle. You want to make sure that the cards you have actually do what they say. So that's where it comes to Arcane Quartet. So this was issued in errata in the Ancients update, I believe it was last year, to just try and this was a way to kind of fix the Arcane Quartet, Nephilim Gargoyle, Flory's Monster Guide, Hierman's Epic crazy combo, which basically lets you draw a whole bunch of cards turn one, search out for your one Medusan Lord's Gambit, and then just constantly MLG somebody until they're dead. So that to fix that, there was an errata issued to kind of limit Arcane Quartet and to make sure that the spell was removed after they used it. Well, if our philosophy is to avoid errata at all costs, let's just ban Arcane Quartet. Because we still say, okay, like, this was errata to fix this problem. Well, no one's playing him even with this errata. So why don't we just take him out completely? And that kind of made sense because we are now not contributing to the errata problem that we see as an issue for player experience. So the idea is, okay, let's just remove this card. It's not commonly owned, not commonly known. It's not even seeing play right now. So, okay, nobody's going to really miss it, I don't think. Let's just get rid of it. And then that then comes down to the only errata section that's currently on the Ancients resource page here on Saga the Storm. It would be Cerebral. So what Cerebral is, and the errata was here, was just to kind of clear it up. So if you read Cerebral as it reads, while it's in play, stunned characters that move forward suffer 1 wound. This was written in Campaign Edition because it's bugged. However, obviously, as rules change and everything like that get rewritten, back going to the latest 4E rule set, which is usually what we follow, characters, when they're falling forward, if a character is spent and you have an illegal rank and someone falls forward, they have to stun and then move. So with the way that Cerebral is worded, spent characters that fall forward are going to take a wound, which makes him a little over the top. The way he was always intended to play, especially with the rule set, was if you're already stunned and then you would get that, that free move that usually doesn't come with a cost. Well, now with Cerebral, it comes with a cost. You take a wound. The stun rule that was also part of Epic. So the idea was we clearly want to make sure Cerebral works as intended and isn't broken. So an errata was issued. However, good old Vic has access to a whole bunch of old FAQs and everything. It's massive. So it's really hard to kind of climb through it. But when we were looking to get rid of this errata section, it's like there was a ruling somewhere right back. So we went and actively looked for it, found it that there was a ruling back in 2004 that kind of clarified this, and it was part of the FAQ. So it's just, and even if it wasn't, it was like, hey guys, I know we're going to look for it just to be thorough, but even if it's not, let's just say it. And just in terms of how we consistently make the rules, like all the people who are making active rules are on the Guardians anyway. So it's like, let's just, acknowledge that this is played this way. We have the space on accordlands.com. So anytime someone's reading it, you can kind of look at it there. And that's what we go with. And there's always kind of clarification. So we decided that we're going to go for that. And that's what we're going to try to do. So consistently. Yeah, there we go. Quote unquote. I don't know if you're consistently quoting me or the chat, but hi, Bobby. So that was the whole thinking behind here. So Q-Tip is banned. Cerebral works as intended. And just kind of cleaning up there. So starting off pretty slow. But still important to kind of note the errata part, just so you guys understand a little bit of the framework. And then going into a little bit more, the idea was to try and make this list a little shorter. Ignored MRP section. So this section really talks about the 10th anniversary reprint set that Arn, when he was when Phoenix Interactive was charging the game, wanted to do something really cool for the 10th anniversary. Let's reprint some of these bomb cards that maybe people don't have, and now let's give them a chance to get play sets of it. And it was a really awesome idea. And that was always the intent of that reprint, was like, let's get more copies of this to that. However, in terms of the execution, there were some flaws. They tried to kind of update some of the wording in a sense to match what, the 4E rule set is. However, when doing that, it wasn't done correctly and changed how some of these cards work, especially the example we see here, Seize Life. Clearly, this would be now the most recent printing of Seize Life, and it's a spend order. It's a spend order before target character suffers wounds. Well, before target character suffers wounds would be a spend react, which is what the original card was. So this was clearly an error. It wasn't proofed very well. Probably rushed to print because we wanted to get it out. So that card technically does nothing if you go by exactly how it's written. So there was a few clarifications in terms of the MRP, and we also tried to think, it's like, hey, if we just ignored the 10th anniversary as the quote-unquote most recent printing, what would that affect? Would that hurt anything? And then it's kind of, with Potion of Blurring, it does kind of make it, because this says, after another character targets. So that was the biggest thing here. So what we did was just, all right, we're going to ignore it 10th anniversary, but then we're going to clarify that Seize Life is a spend react and not a spend order. And that Potion of Blurring, that MRP is positively received, and it is to make sure that it's other characters and that everything, and, Warlords, if they were targeting themselves, they sometimes would have to make a check, which is a little weird. Like, you're so blurry, you can't even see yourself. I mean, it's kind of cool flavor-wise, but from an actual play experience, it's pretty dumb. So this needed to be think. And then I can see Grack is kind of mentioning biggest change to the MRP was exhaustion second half no longer targets. So that's another thing too. Yeah, going by the original ruling. Let's I'm gonna jump to a core lands real quick just to talk about that. So exhaustion. Everybody should know what this card does. It's one of the best cards ever printed in Warlord. It is always a solid choice. Just about every deck you run, as long as you're not a 6-man deck. So as long as you play 25 characters, usually you can go with exhaustion in here. But this is the 10th anniversary printing that we see on screen. So the first react, after target character performs an action, spend the character. Okay, target character, you're spending someone that clearly targets. The second react, though, is after target spent character pays the cost of an action, cancel the action. Well, the Tooth and Claw and Campaign Edition version never said target. So when they made 10th anniversary, the idea of canceling your action, in most cases, the canceling of the action does not target because it doesn't really affect anything. So it's just canceling, it's just stopping an action, but it's not affecting the orientation, the stats of any character. So unless it says target, it doesn't target. So this Campaign Edition one, if you play it as this is the most recent thing, that second react no longer targets. And what does that affect? Well, cards like Halo of Secrets, which, say after one of your Deferinians is targeted with a non-melee strike action, you can cancel. So if someone tries to cancel your action as a spent Deferinian, like if you tried to do an order while you were spent and someone said, nope, exhaustion, cancel, well, you could Halo of Secrets and stop the exhaustion. Well, now you can't. So that's also going to factor in a little bit there. But frankly, it's one of those, canceling was always kind of played as not targeting. It's just, okay, if this card says it. And it's like, well, the 10th anniversary says it. So this is, again, another time where the intention of the card was changed. Some people kind of wish exhaustion targeted just because, again, exhaustion is that good. But now you can't. So that is what's going on there. So just there. Okay, now we're finally getting into the cards. All right, here we go, guys. Medusan Lord's Might and Medusan Lord's Guile. So these are the first cards. So want to kind of start us off with just talking about these a little bit. So these cards, especially, honestly, these cards weren't really seeing play for much of the year. That is kind of attributed to a lot of the casual play that our community has, which is awesome. A lot of people don't want to play just... We play because we want to do cool stuff. We all want to try and win, but we also really want to win in style for the most part as a community, which is awesome. And that honestly has made the tournament scene so much fun. Like for example, looking back at the latest tournament when it was Campaign Edition, there is no reason for me not to run Sir Alaron, the Dev Paladin Stormwraith, in my Dev Cavalry deck over Lord Gahid Relian. But Lord Gahid Relian is cool. So I ran him instead of just going with the obviously more powerful example, which would be Sir Alaron. So a lot of people kind of take that mindset too, except for Midge. He's a dirty tryhard. So shout out to Midge for being the guy who just constantly tries to win everything because he hates losing. It's very fun. So next time you beat him, just kind of like really try and BM him. Just because watch him get all worked up so that he comes back to our group chat and cries. It's great. But again, because of that, a lot of people weren't running cards like MLM and ML Guile, as we're going to call it here. These cards were created at the end of Epic Edition as really intended for just use by Dragon Lords and Overlord challenges. Like, it's like, all right, let me give something that can kind of really tilt the edge back to the runners and make these challenges harder. Dragon Lords were getting slain left and right. It was so easy. Epic Edition was pretty broken. And so it really wasn't even a challenge to beat a Dragon Lord. Mind you, it originally was. It took me 29 attempts, maybe 30 attempts, until I finally beat a Dragon Lord Drax and Roll. Which everybody in New Jersey will remember me like struggling. Meanwhile, Midge beats it in like the second challenge. Just like, oh yeah, but like I always had just this string of like the worst luck possible. Like the runner would always draw the counter to me. And so on my 30th challenge, while not officially ever confirmed, I believe the runner threw the challenge to me in pity. But either way, those were hard to beat back then. Like, you really had to work on it, and beating it was an accomplishment. I remember when I beat my first Drax, and it was great. Even though, again, I think somebody just... Good old shout out to Rich Salas, wherever he may be in South Jersey. But he definitely threw the challenge to me. But the Dragon Lords got a lot easier after that went down, a while back. So cards like this were introduced to kind of make this a little harder, but they were never really intended to be played by actual Warlord games. Like, oh, how many times do you have a level 6 character? Well, Jordan Drac exists. Dragons exist. So like these became options, and now people are posting deck lists in chat. Look at this. Screenshot this, guys, if you ever want a deck. But Medusan Lord's Might was literally choose a card, search your opponent's hand and deck, and just remove all copies of it from the game. Just eliminate it. So obviously, as a Dragon Lord runner, if you saw what was the one answer of the combo piece that they were going, if you drew this card that you were probably only running one of anyway, if you just drew it, you kind of just took the wind out of their sails and made them work for it. But when you're playing in a tournament game and you kind of know what everyone's doing or whatever, like, this was used by King Zod specifically, because he can get to level 6 with items like Sir Titan Shield or Toma Champions very easily. And then Zod going Uber, which is a very consistent deck as it is, and we will see that as evidence with the rest of this list here. He was able to just kind of pick and choose, all right, what is the one answer that my opponent has to me? All right, cool. Remove it from the game. I have 36 AC and 9 HP. You ain't never going to touch me because the one card that you had to really shut me down is now completely gone. And that really was just kind of a feel-bad moment. At the online Ancients Championship this year, we saw a few people trying that. I think there was a Jordan Drac deck that literally would go ahead Medusan Lord's Might 2 times in a turn by readying Jordan Drac. So it's like, all right, you remove every single thing that this deck is doing, and that's it. It kills combo. It kills a whole lot of archetype. So we saw that as this is a card that really doesn't encourage people to actually play the game. So that alone, it feels bad. It's really only being abused by oppressive warlords like Zod, which let's say he's oppressive in Ancients format right now. And it was always intended to just be a Dragon Lord card or an Overlord card. So it literally says Overlord on it, like, for a reason. So let's just get rid of this. It doesn't promote a healthy play environment. It doesn't, obviously, and this is one of those things. It's like, whoa, yeah, really? You want to just hand wins to players? It's like, oh, you can't handle like counter magic, or you can't handle like denial, and it's like, well, yeah, we understand that, and there are examples of things like that make sense, and they're cancelable, or they're not as just dumb as this, because MLM, it's a rogue or fighter action. There's a very limited number of ways you can cancel that, because it's not a spell. So many things that are like action cancelization are spells. Otherwise, it's really hard to stop a spend order. So that was pretty roll and watch again, and that's a very interesting aspect to it. You have to really think about that. Steel Fate is also an example of it, but you're letting your opponent draw 6 cards to do that. So that's very bad. Ancient Feuds is a mentalist only action that lets you cancel it. So there's very few examples. So, okay, this card's got to go, and thus it is banned. But now, okay, what's wrong with Medusan Lord's Guile? Which is just, search your deck for any card and add it to your hand. It's a tutor, to use a magic term. It's just a tutor card. That, okay, so what? They're searching for any card. Well, it's getting hit because of just the intention of it being a Dragon Lord, so it's guilty by association. My opinion, I think Medusan Lord's Guile is a fine card. It does enable like some kind of, like, all right, let me draw my combo piece or whatever, which is fine. But like, there's so much card draw in Ancients anyway that there's other ways to do it. And so if you're just going to kind of go on intention, all right, let's just hit it. In terms of it like actually coming back, I could see it coming back. It's like, MLG, or I keep saying MOG, but that's usually what we do for. That's the acronym we commonly use in the community for Medusan Lord's Gambit. That's totally fine. ML Guile over here. This card right over here. Probably didn't need to get banned, but just, again, this is guilt by association. So, like, I'm okay with it getting hit. If it was still here, it would be totally fine. And I would say in the future, I could see it coming back. If there's ever, like, all right, we got to take cards off. Like, this is probably one of the ones that come off. But because of intention, it's fine. It's not because of an oppressive nature. So that was at least the thought there. I mean, you can read a little bit more about it too. The nicer cousin, as AJ puts it. But this card is banned now too. So no more ML Guile. Let's move on now to incentives. Here we go. Now we're getting to some meat. So incentives. This was a card that was released in 4th edition. Ironically, shares the art with another banned card, Wyvern's Flame. So this art is clearly cursed. This is a action that was very popular in the Ancient Online tournament, specifically in Fatraka. Now, this spell, let's break this down a little bit for those who may not fully understand incentives. You target 2 of your characters. You can choose to inflict a wound on them. You don't have to, but in some cases it's beneficial to wound your own characters. Those 2 characters each perform a melee strike. The melee strikes that those characters perform, because this is a spell, now ignore planar characters, so you don't have to worry about rolling even to hit them. They also give them +5 attack and power attack for the strike if they took a wound. So if they're being wounded, they're hitting harder. So this spell is totally fine in most cleric or rogue decks. It's also a rogue action. There is one deck where it is extremely problematic, and that is in Fatraka, the guy who was driving that little truck over there. So let's actually go take a look at Fatraka. And fun note for everybody on Accordlands, if you're looking for Fatraka, because of all the weird apostrophes, doesn't really come up right away, and I never remember how to correctly type it, so I always just type "fo" and go find it. So here it is. So Fatraka ran by Celtic and won the Ancients Online World Championship, defeating Zod in the finals. Your Nothrog's melee strikes may target an additional rank away while they have 1 or more wounds. So there were times Fatraka was obviously running 3 incentives, and first action you're going to draw one of those 3, pretty respectively. I want to say it was like 40%, or I don't remember the math on that. If you're running ×3 of drawing 1 copy of it, 32%. There we go. Thanks, Gracchus. 32% chance to basically draw one of them in your opening hand. And that was just super consistent. And the second that Fatraka would go first action, select their 2 Gundas in the front rank, or 2 of the 3 Gundas they have in their front rank, opt to wound them. So now they're wounded characters. The Gundas react. They get +1 level, +1 HP, +5 attack till the end of turn from their ability, which let me actually get them up here. So they're getting all that bonus. And now those strikes that they're about to perform are going an extra rank. So they're going at the 2nd rank, and they're ignoring, okay, Gunda's not going to load. I guess my computer's doing some things in the background. Don't know what. Here we go. We got there. So the default level 1 for Nothrogs will now be wounded, is now swinging at potentially +13. If you roll really high, it's going to be for 2 wounds, and it's going to get the 2nd rank. So if you have planet characters in your 2nd rank, they're about to eat it. They're done. And if they pass power attack, it might even. So frankly, they can take out your 2nd action, like your 2nd rank first action. And this was happening a lot. And when that happens, especially if decks are level 4 heavy, or they rely on their Warlord not being spent and within striking distance now, because when they sit in 2, now any other wounded Nothrogs, and there's other ways to wound your Nothrogs in Fatraka, are now swinging at it. So the first action of incentives is the oppressive part. So the change that is now coming to incentives is it is restricted. So restricted, for those, again, who don't know, there's 3 levels of being on the Ancients rules set here. You're either, obviously you're a normal card, like let's not even say that. You're either banned, which means you can't run any copies of it. Restricted, right? I will shout out Celtic for the gifted sub, because he knows we're talking about Fatraka, so he's trying to give some love over here, because lagging for everyone else. Please tell me I'm not lagging. Hopefully it's just Sanji, who is probably on his phone in the middle of a dead zone. All right, cool. Thank you, Gracchus. If Kentucky internet is strong enough, or Indiana internet is good enough, then I appreciate that. So, banned, can't play any copies. Restricted, you can play 1 copy. There are other restricted cards on the Ancients ban list, such as Tor and Yeskar. Everybody can run 1 copy of it. Or, just like Archer Towers on there. Phantasm is a card that's on there. There's a few different... Suicidal Charge was one that we recently added to it, because that was some consistently bad things with High Priest Nasseril. So because of that, and because, we're like, Incentives is a fine card, except in Fatraka. So we need to kind of lower the consistency there. So by restricting incentives, you make it a lot harder to draw that 1 copy in her. It's still there and can still be a bomb and still empower Fatraka to get the W. But the idea that you're going to draw 1 out of, let's say, your 44 card deck. So yeah, Gracchus is saying it drops to 11.36% chance of it being in your opening hand. And you know what? So let's say you're playing a best 2 out of 3 game, with 11%. Let's say you see it once. 1 of your 3 games you have incentives in your opening hand. Okay, cool. That's the 1 game. Your opponent still has a chance to play out and not get nuked first action in 2 other games, because that's the idea. Just win 2 out of 3. So the consistency here being lowered makes it a lot more manageable. So the card's not banned. It's still a card that can be played. But it does hit the top deck, which is what the reigning online world champion ran. So, and that's also something I want to kind of also throw out there. Like, one of the other main, I'd say, sentiments. Well, that's a good word of it. The sentiments of the Guardians is a general, and again, I know it's like me speaking for everybody, but the general feel that I see whenever I talk to people is obviously we don't want to prevent people from playing cards. If you own these cards, or digitally, that's an option. We always would rather have it be an option to play in some way, shape, or form, even if it's restricted or reserved, which means it can't start and play. I forgot to mention that one before. But those are ways of limiting the cards without completely removing them from the card pool. So things like that, we always want to encourage people to be able to play cards. And so this now makes incentives, instead of just completely going away just because of Fatraka's sins, it's now around in some less consistent form. And it's ironic because other games I've played, specifically Game of Thrones second edition, there was a card called Crown of Gold, which is basically like, I'm not going to get into the specifics of, obviously, if you don't know how to play Game of Thrones, it was essentially point, click, delete a certain character, like a character that is within X range. Like, if they have this strength or lower, they're dead. Point, click, delete, gone. The way that they balanced that strong effect was to limit it to one copy per deck. But the players there and the community as a whole, for the most part, hated that aspect. They were like, well, now, especially because that game was best of one, it's like, all right, well, if I just draw that one copy, it's completely RNG. There's no skill into playing that card. Did you draw your one copy that you're allowed to play and drop it? And like a lot of people hated that. But here in Warlord, it really works, and it's really well received. It probably is because we're best 2 out of 3. Or just kind of, again, just a difference in the actual mechanics of the game. But like Tauren being at an X1, because there's already like a common trait that is within the rules of the game called Epic. Cards with the Epic trait, you can only run one copy of it. And it's been successful. Like having Tauren as 1X keeps it so where people are able to play it. When you draw it, it really soups up your engine, but it's not oppressive when you have 3 of it and you're basically digging through and cycling through your deck, which was completely the feels of open for sure. But that's been really successful seeing things like that. And then even then, the cheeky 1X like Phantasm that I always think of, like having that in there and have that pop up, like it's really cool. And like it hasn't been like such a negative feels bad. But again, I guess it's probably because it's 2 out of 3, and that's what I'd kind of see. But restricting something like this is a way to kind of keep it in the pool without completely getting rid of it. So I'm a fan of this. I would say just a little bit of the insider. This was almost, I think it was unanimous. I think everybody essentially had no problem with this. It was kind of like, hey guys, like, okay, incentives is now an issue. It was something that was on the, like, our quote unquote unofficial watch list last year. Like, is this a problem with Fatraka doing this? And we're like, nah, I don't think we have to do anything. But now it's clear. Okay, now's the time. Let's pull back on incentives and see what happens, and kind of go from there. So incentives being hit, we're like, all right, yeah, now is the time. We've seen enough of it. We know. Let's limit it in some capacity. So we'll see how this plays out. And if Fatraka is completely garbage or whatever, or something else becomes crazier, who knows? Maybe it comes back. Probably not though. I think incentives will successfully have a second life as a restricted card and be totally fine. Alrighty, let's see. Fatraka will come back with revenge. Fatraka never left, don't worry. So speaking of that, let's talk about the altar. I will preface this by saying that this was where most of the conversation for the Guardians were. For better or for worse, it was over the altar. Quote unquote, the table. It is colloquially or casually for those who are not used to fancy SAT words, referred to as table because literally it's a living table. Look at it. Like it's just, that's it. It holds things. That's what it does. But for some reason, it being a table means it has 6 skill. So the altar was something that's kind of like, all right, guys, there's a lot going on with this card. It's a level 2. It's not unique. It can start and play. The fact that it's chosen is pretty cool. It comes with a charge, but it is a wizard that is in a siege that can do every action. It just can't equip items. It has 2 abilities, which are not once per turn. It can kill any characters, put more charges on it to basically fuel its second ability, which is anytime you're performing a melee strike, just add 4 and remove wounds from it. Characters can't remove wound reduction from it, so your wounds can't be reduced. And there's a wizard with 6 skill and really good stats. So there is a whole lot going on with this card. So much so that you kind of look at the existing Ancients list, and there is a card called Nightmaster Arrest on there, which is a level 2 Nothrog. He is currently restricted to be 1X. You can't play more than one of him in your deck. People don't even start the one copy of that card because everyone's going ×2 altar. There are so many other level 2 Nothrogs that have seen play throughout history. Ballistic Crew, Tembo Bam, like a whole bunch of really quality cards that just don't see. It's if you see a Nothrog deck, they're almost always starting at least one altar, but more likely two. It's been the popular thing that we've seen throughout the year. But now it came to, is this an issue? And, there are some people who think there wasn't, some people who thought it was. And then it's just, all right, well, if it was, in what aspect are we going to hit it? So thank you for the note, Gracchus. I will mention that too. One of the other things that, there's two other things I actually want to talk about. Because before I even start talking about what we decided to do with it, let's talk about two other things that maybe not a lot of people kind of realize about the altar. One, it can play the spell from dust to dust very efficiently. Let's get to that. Let's go dust to dust on Ancients. I'm sorry, on Core Lands, on Ancients. So this good old spell basically target a character within 3 ranks, DC 12 plus the wizard skill, and for some reason, again, this level 2 character has more skill than many warlords. So it's a DC 18 first action. If you kill a character that you target, you search your deck for a level X character or lower of that killed character. So basically, first action, Alter can spend, cast this spell, kill someone in the second rank who has 1 HP. You search your deck for a level 1 or 2 character, and now you've basically taken away a character from the starting army, and you thinned your deck and didn't lose a card because you played a card from your hand, but you gained a card back by searching. So this is something that was a very efficient play pattern, and it's a pretty cool card for all intents and purposes because there's a lot of ways to stop from dust to dust. A lot of people always will search for, especially Nothrogs, they'll search for Kargrag, which is a level 1 that with a Daybreak ability that you draw a card when it enters play. So it's almost like, you're just kind of playing more resources and getting more cards out very efficiently. So the table probably does that best because level 2 characters being able to pass a DC 18 first action is a big ask, especially when the average level 2 wizard probably has 3 or 4 skill. So a DC 15 or DC 16, that's a little bit more manageable. If their level 2s probably have 3 or 4 skill, you're looking for a 12 up, which is, about, a coin flip, a little worse than a coin flip. So that's where that gets a little bit more balanced. When you get into 18, those 3 points matter. That's an extra 15% in terms of, success rate, in terms of consistency. So that gets really bad with this card. So that's a strike against it. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize with the altar is, again, the ability to just kill one of your characters, level X characters, and put X charges on the altar. This is a way to make sure that your ranks are never cluttered. There are a lot of times in a lot of decks where you have a whole bunch of level 4 characters. The example that I will show to kind of really drive that home too is Satusk. This chess-playing Nothrog. He just has the ability to spend order, draw a card. That's what he does. The drawback to this card, this is great. Why wouldn't anyone do this? He basically kind of recycles, and then every turn he's there, he's giving you an extra card a turn. That's really great. The drawback that a lot of people don't really ever see is that he's now spent in rank 4. If you have a whole bunch of other level 4s in your hand, it's a little harder to kind of play around with your ranks and do this. Well, once you have the altar out, you no longer have to worry about that. You just kill that guy. He came into play, he did his thing, and now he powered up this altar to make sure my next 4 strikes can't be reduced by healing, because clerics are very popular, and they have +4 attack to hit. So that basically makes any first strike from an Nothrog, like let's say Gunda, who is the most common one, if it's unwounded with the altar, it's swinging at +7. If you have 2 altars, it's swinging at +11. And again, it's a one-use thing because you use the charge and then that's it. But that is super consistent. So the fact that this card was always around and it can do things to really make your gameplay consistent too, it's like there's so much going on for a level 2 character that is outshining restricted cards. Like, this is probably something we should look at, guys, right? And there was some contention throughout the Guardians. No, it doesn't need to get hit because, it's a check to make sure that other cards like Danris or Brother Domini get hit. And so those kind of arguments are like, okay, cool, you're right. This does sit here to kind of help, create balance where, all right, if you're going these cards, I have this card to kind of answer it. So it's like, all right, we have a clearly overpowered card, but there is at least some use to it. So what is it? What is the change? And what we ended up going for is restricting it so you can only have one altar. If you get it shot out and it dies, okay, whatever, that's on you. But it gives players an answer to kind of deal with this card now, because if you just kill that one altar, that's it. Because a lot of times it's sitting in rank 2, it's a little harder to hit. So if they have 2 altars, well, now you got to hit it twice and also hope that they don't have healing before you take it offline. But now it's like you only got one, and if it's gone, that's it. So this card is now restricted. My personal opinion, and when I proposed this to the Guardians, my change to this was to make this card reserve, where you can run 3 copies of it, but you can't start it in play. I thought that would, solve a lot of the problems here. One, you no longer have to worry about the From Dust to Dust interaction. You don't have to worry about it, just completely making all your strikes in the beginning not, matter. Just, okay, cool, I'm just always hitting constantly. You can't build your deck to be consistently streamlined with the Altar's kill ability. But you can still play it. If you draw 3 copies, you run 3 copies of it in your deck, you draw it, you drop it. All right, cool. Now you're going. But we've seen that be successful in cards like Ardenalis, the level 1 elf who, once it comes back from the graveyard, performs a melee strike. That being so you can't start it has, made those decks still possible, but also curbed a lot of the consistency. So that was my thinking when I did that. But a lot of people felt that might be even harsher than restricting it. Like having it not be there in play, and it being built is kind of one of the draws to it. So maybe we just start with restricted, and that ended up being the compromise because of the debate. Because again, we were, there was a lot of division on this card, and do we even need to hit it at all? And so that's where a lot of this debate kind of came in, guys. And the restricted was, all right, let's try this. So it's still start and play. So really, in a sense, most decks that ran it anyway can now play it, but they also now are promoting variety, where now you can play a different level 2 in pairing with it. So it also now makes it so like Gunda's first swing, if you have double altar, previously again plus 11, if you make sure that you always hit that Brother Domini, well now it's plus 7 against Brother Domini, who probably has like a 14 AC. It's a missable action, so it does kind of sway the consistency there. So yeah, that's where this is at, and this was probably the most exciting one, I'd say. But we're gonna see how this is with it being restricted. If the card continues to be a problem, who knows? Maybe it does get reserved or whatever. We try out other things, or if Nothrogs start completely shitting the bed, which some people kind of felt with this, which I don't think is true at all. Then maybe it comes back. So we can kind of see what this is. So. Just taking a look at some of you guys have said. I still think restrict plus reserved would have been the play, but I'm happy with restrict. Yeah, again, it's there was again a lot of reasons given for both sides, and I think we just kind of were like, all right, let's try restrict and see where this goes. Exactly. You either love it or hate it. You know what? And that's another thing too. When you have to come with that I left off at the beginning with my description here is. When we're making these changes, you need to separate your love for a certain card, your love for a certain faction, and you really need to look at the game, just as a whole. That you're like, yeah, no shit, Chris. Well, that's harder for a lot of people to do. Like I've everybody always talks about, everyone who plays this game regularly, you all talk with your friends about Warlord 2. I do it all the time with people in that. And it's just, when I see some of these opinions, it's just like I can kind of like me myself. Like I'm not really attached to any one faction. I've played some decks like Sanguinel, for example. I've played that historically a lot, but I've played a lot of Nothrogs. I've played a lot of Free Kingdoms, which people don't ever even associate me with. Some people associate me with General Lund, and I was like, wait, Vac, you've ran General Lund? Like that's just how it is. Like I've played anything and everything. So like I kind of don't really have I'm not somebody who always plays Deverinians, like Gracchus the Old here in the chat. I am not somebody who plays only Free Kingdoms, which a lot of people are. I'm not a dwarf loyalist. And there are people who only play that one faction. So I like to remove myself from those opinions, but not everybody can do that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, whenever you're making some of these decisions, you really have to kind of look at the game holistically, just for the benefit of everybody. You can't just be like, well, I'm gonna help my team. And it's like, well, you can't look at it like that. So here it's kind of like, oh man, you're really hitting Nocturnes, but I love playing Nocturnes. I want to play the altar. Well, that don't matter. If the altar's a problem, you got to hit it. And so a lot of these things are not like, I'm going to hit this faction just because I don't like it. That cannot be the driving decision for any of these cards, nor can it be the reason why we don't hit anything. It has to be in terms of the game as a whole. Every faction is on the table here. What makes the best environment for Ancients? And we think Restricted is going to do that. So we'll see how it is. So I've been talking for about an hour. I just need to rehydrate, guys. Talking to yourself for an hour, it can wear on you guys. I promise. All right. Let's move to one that probably confused a lot of people. Locked Ring. So this is a fighter item that prevents item destruction. Commonly seen in King Zod, being able to search out for a level 5 or lower item. Zod Uber would usually have a whole bunch of items that needed protection. So the way it kind of protected itself was searching out for this Locked Ring. And it basically is a once per turn ability to, after an action targets another item within one rank, remove a charge token and cancel that action. So this was kind of the protection to make sure that if somebody has the ability to remove an item, they don't. So frankly, it's a very fair card. It's very nice. However, this card and the kind of debate and the decision we kind of came to, wasn't necessarily, is Locked Ring a problem? That wasn't how this card came to be as an example of it being now on this article. The question at hand was, what do we do about King Zod? So you saw him drinking that monster, driving that truck on the opening artwork. Let's get his card up here. One of the most iconic characters, the first Dwarf Warlord. Now Naroyal technically was, but one of the first Warlords, King Zod over here. The most popular Dwarf Warlord. And he's the dwarf icon. He's the king of the dwarves. Flavor-wise, he's the man. He has his lady that a lot of people love to play. Every fighter deck runs the king's lady. That's his weapon. So he has been a problem in Ancients. Super consistent. And some people would even go as far as to say he's NPE. Some people have called for him to be banned. And just, he's a problem, needs to get, shouldn't exist. And then you go and talk to some dwarf warlords who are like, yeah, oh, look at this good old Reclesis. Yo, what's going on, dude? I hate this warlord so much. There are a lot of people who hate this warlord. There are a lot of people who love this warlord. But we realize, okay, King Zod now has been to the finals twice, back-to-back years. King Zod only gets played in the most hyper-competitive environments because people are like, I don't want to, because everyone kind of knows, when you play King Zod, again, you're playing a very consistent deck that basically all it is do you have answers for what I'm doing? If your deck isn't built specifically to take me out, you're never going to win. And then there was always the trouble of preparing for Zod and then also preparing for the rest of the field. It was always kind of a give and take. The more that you put into killing King Zod, the less effective your deck was against the field. So there were some bad matchups, good matchups. So in some sense, that's healthy. But now it's like, all right, is the king suit a little too consistent? And then it's kind of like, well, what do we do about it? So now trying to find creative ways how to fix it, because there's not one problem with Zod. Some people in chat be like, yeah, there is a problem with Zod. It's him. Get rid of him. And it's like, well, we're not going to ban warlords at this point. There's only one warlord that's banned, and it was Jyoti Assign. And the reason that Jyoti Assign is banned is to future proof and make sure that, hey, if anyone was going to design new cards, we want to make sure there's no infinite combo. Because that's the whole idea. The whole goal, the first goal of Ancients, when good old Paul Delaney made it, was we want to stop any kind of infinite combos. And if Joltia exists in the event, in the environment, as new cards are coming in, I don't want to have to like analyze every single card or have somebody kind of design a card around it. Design with this in mind that, hey, if someone uses Joltia to make this character their Warlord, is this going to be an infinite combo? Is this going to be a real negative play experience now? So the simple answer was, let's just get rid of Joltia. It's never going to be a problem now, and you don't have to analyze every card. So it's future proofing. And then some people will be like, well, the game's dead. Why does he need to be here? There's no new cards. Well, you don't know that there's not going to be new cards. 20th anniversary came out. Maybe something's happening soon. I don't know. But, he's the only example that we have with Warlords being banned. And you don't want to take out Warlords. Warlords are literally, it's the name of the game, Warlord. You don't want to kill the iconic characters. You want to keep, again, you want to have people play the cards that they own and they like. So hitting a Warlord is almost, I'd say, not even an option, shouldn't be considered. And then there's also like, all right, well, King Zod's still an issue because he can search out for any level 5 item. He's searching out the Cardinal's Blessing. He's searching out the Staff of Secrets. He's searching out Amulet of Waking. And these are not items that fit his class, which is a fighter. So can we errata him to only search for fighter items, which is a popular suggestion that we see on the boards? Well, we've already said, as in the first thing, we don't want to get into errata. We want cards to do what they say they do. So, okay, we can't really do that either. So, well, then what the hell do we do with Zod? Well, hitting Medusan Lord's Might kind of helps a little bit because it removes his, his forced lobotomy on the opponent to make them forget the one piece that they prepared for them. So that, in a sense, helps. But now it's like, okay, well, let's think about King Zod as is. His order is really strong because he can search out for whatever counter or answer that he needs to you and put into play. So now it's, okay, what option there can we remove that kind of encourages a very nice play pattern? And so there was a few suggestions thrown out there, a whole bunch. So Locked Ring is one of those where, okay, well, King Zod's all about items. Even the decks that don't necessarily go super uber where they have like high 30 something AC or whatever, there's usually more items than actions in King Zod. So the way that he protects those items that he invests in before he gets to the front rank is with Locked Ring. So if he knows that you're an elf and you have K-Pix, all right, cool, I'm going to make sure I have Locked Ring, so you have to hit K-Pix. So you have to K-Pix the Locked Ring off first. And then even if you do that, then I have supply and can just kind of put Locked Ring back on. Or just some people running Nodwick, which, that's a choice. I don't like running Nodwick and Zod. But, there are times where that's happening. And with Locked Ring, item destruction's already limited in the format now. A lot of people aren't necessarily playing a lot of it because of Locked Ring. And people are like, really? Is it because of Locked Ring? Well, really it is, because you think about it, you play Locked Ring, then someone has to have an answer for the Locked Ring, and then have another answer in order to kind of hit any other items. And then they have to always have 2 answers to items every turn now, because Locked Ring always exists. So like Wand of Negation is another popular one. You have to wand the Locked Ring and then play your action to discard an item. And that's really a heavy investment. So players weren't even doing it. Like, all right, maybe I'll have K-Pix so I can just recur it. That's great. And so elves can do that. That's one faction, but there are other things that, like, rogues have steady aim. They have nimble fingers. Clerics, they used to have the decay. Now they don't get that as well because it's level cap because of the 4E MRP, which sucks. But, there's other ways. Shatter was something that wizards can play to remove items. Crush was a fighter action that people used to always play. So there are item destructions out there. So what this does is, all right, if Zod and his items are really a problem, let's remove Zod's ability to search out his answer against item destruction, which is Locked Ring. So with that, let's ban Locked Ring, which is what we decided to do. And now this encourages a play pattern. Lord Jocks, there you go, Zide Punk. Great example there too. Devs can play that as well. Clerics have Nature's Corrosion. So there is options that people just really aren't playing because it's like, oh, what's the point? I'm not even going to get value of it. Well, now with Zod not having, Zod has ways to still protect his items, but nowhere near as consistent as the Locked Ring. There's a wizard spell called Sigil of Bonding that basically says, your items can only be discarded by wizard actions, I believe, or spells. And then if one of your items do get discarded, you take a wound. But it's a wizard action that someone has to play and attach to Zod. So like Zod now has to build his deck to have, obviously, or hopefully you draw your one supply or you play stockpile or something like that to kind of do it. So it's a little harder. He can't just search for it turn one and be protected. He can play a card Thieves Bane, which kind of helps, but it's just basically like, Thieves Bane is nowhere near as good as Locked Ring. So that's still there, and there's still ways around Thieves Bane. So, in the sense, Zod can still have options to protect. Players now have more options to disrupt, and that, in a sense, is a healthy game. You're encouraging players to, hey, there's a problem where everyone's going to run King Zod. Well, now I can prepare for Zod and not have to worry about it just completely being countered. It can still be countered, but now Zod has to work for it. And that is, in my opinion, I like it. It's a very healthy play pattern. Whether or not we see that. And also the biggest point to consider here too with Locked Ring, it's like, well, why are you going to hit this card? Really? It's like, well, I'm going to say a statement that I know everyone's going to be like, well, I have an example. Well, look, no competitive Ancients deck other than King Zod is running Locked Ring. And by competitive, I mean top tier, tier 1. There's probably someone who's like, yeah, I run Locked Ring in my Destroyer's Armor deck that Gracchus will give you an example of. I've run Locked Ring in Ablung Uber. Okay, cool. We saw Tarek Justicebringer run Locked Ring in Campaign Edition. But in Ancients, no. And Ablung, Tarek, not top tier. Like, not even tier 2. So, like, the Warlords that are running this, they're usually not even running it. They're not in that. And this decision's being made to specifically affect the Ancients competitive environment. Obviously people still do whatever they want to do in a casual sense, but this is all for the sense of competitiveness. And this is something we're trying to hit Zod with. So going for it means, okay, let's see how this goes. I could see this eventually being reverted, but I like it. It's a very creative way to try and hit Zod. There's so many other ways you could do it. Chat, let me know what you guys think, because this, again, it was something that the Guardians talked about and debated, pretty heavily, and just like, what can we do for Zod? How would you have hit Zod, guys? Let me know what you were thinking. And then also try and think, like, would you have gone errata? Would you have gone ban? Would you have hit something else? Another example that I kind of threw, I can share 2 other ideas that I had for hitting Zod that we decided not to go for. Card Ghost Steel Gauntlets could have been hit. So Ghost Steel Gauntlets was an idea where it's, all right, well, Zod's going to go Uber. Maybe you hit Ghost Steel Gauntlets because that's the way he gets a lot of speed and make sure he finishes these games on time, because it gives him so much offense. He's getting a lot of melee strikes, especially against level 1 characters. But then the arguments are, all right, unlike with Locked Ring, Ghost Steel Gauntlets sees play in other decks. Other front rank fighters are running Ghost Steel Gauntlets, or other Uber decks are running Ghost Steel Gauntlets. So it's like, okay, I think this card, okay, it might be a little harsh, it might affect other cards. So between this and Locked Ring, you go Locked Ring. But this was another one that I thought could have been an option. And then the other option, I kind of mentioned it, Amulet of Waking. So this is a classless item that he takes out. It is level 5. Well, it wasn't always level 5. Let me click Siege. Oh, look, it just became level 6. So it was originally, when printed in the set Siege, was a level 6 classless item. Zod can't search for level 6 items. He can only search for level 5. Well, for some reason, when we made Campaign Edition, it just got MRP'd to be level 5. Was it a mistake? Was it intentional? Doesn't know, but it basically meant at Campaign Edition, now Zod is able to stay awake. So my way of being creative, too, in terms of what else can we do to hit Zod is, well, you know, with Zod with Amulet Awakening, he doesn't get affected by Wind of Warfare when he's stunning up. He's not taking wounds. You can't cancel his items being equipped when he's spent or stunned. You can't stun lock him because he can still be stunned and use Ghost Steel Gauntlets to keep the pressure on even while he's stun locked. So this is a very important card to him. Well, let's just ignore the MRP on Campaign Edition. It's no longer a level 5 item. It's level 6. It's not an errata. You're just choosing to ignore an MRP. And people are like, all right, that might be a little too complicated. That was kind of the general sentiment. But I thought that could be something that maybe you consider as a way to hit Zod. But you know, it did not. It did not go well when I proposed it for the Guardians. So that, you know, I can see it being a very convoluted way. I think of like the 3 examples I'm talking here, I think Locked Ring is the cleanest. So I'm hopeful that that's going to actually impact it and give players a, you know, promote them to play a certain way and play item removal. Item removal is fun. So that's Locked Ring. Let's now go to Cochrane. So a lot of people may not have even seen this card. But this is a pesky little guy who is being hit for one particular... No. Celtic, it's not now level 6. I'm giving you an example of some other options. Please pay attention, sir. Think all of a sudden you're the world champion and now you don't have to listen. You can only half listen. It's like, look, just, I don't know. Are the Celtics on tonight? Is that what it is? You're watching them lose? Is that what it is? It's like, all right, well, at least you're not the Lakers. You don't know how bad the Celtics are or how good they are. But pay attention, my man. So, no, Amulet Awakening is still level 5. I hope it's level 6 eventually, but I don't think anyone's going to go for that idea that I threw out. That's crazy talk. Vax got crazy ideas. Speaking of Cochrane, not a crazy idea here. So, anyone who attended Gen Con Indy may have seen a deck that Josh King was running at a Tefferoth. So it was starting 3 of this bad boy over here, Cochrane, who react. Before a character in your army casts a spell, kill Cochrane. All range strikes and DC checks produced by this spell gain +2 for each character, including Cochrane, in this rank. So there was a deck with Tefferoth. So here, I'm gonna pop up a few examples just to kind of show you guys, so this makes sense. So let's go to Teffy. So the elf queen herself, who enabled all of her elves to be able to play level 1 spells. So she was the warlord, and there is in the story her one of her trusty right hand folks, or I don't really know fully, but definitely someone who is attached to her. Because look at this. Come close, Ilvion, my fair. I have another mission for you. So clearly Tefferoth's, let's just say, right-hand person. Ilvion is a fighter who has a react. Before Ilvion inflicts 1 or more wounds with a spell, the spell inflicts an additional wound. So this is a fighter. When's a fighter playing spells? Well, it's when it's in Tefferoth's army. So those two are kind of married. So the deck was playing Tefferoth as the warlord, Ilvion as the level 2 character, and then 3 Cochranes in the front. First action, it was playing Evoke Crisis from Ilvion. So this is first action of the game. It plays Evoke Crisis. Range strikes from this spell may target an adjacent rank, or discard any number of cards, perform a +2 range strike, and then perform a +0 range strike for each card you discarded. So basically what it was doing is, let's go back to Ilvion. Let me see if I can just kind of go back. There we go. So going back to Ilvion. So Ilvion was casting it. In response to Ilvion casting the spell, Cochrane number 1 was reacting to increase the bonus of the strike by 6 for the 3 Cochranes. Then the next one would give it +4. Then the last one would give it +4 after now 2 characters die in rank 1. Ilvion falls forward to rank 1 spent. And then you react with the other Cochrane, so now you're having +6, +4, +4. So you're adding +14 to these Evoke Crisis strikes. So you're getting a +16 and then +14 for every card you discard. You can really just pitch your whole hand. So you can have 5 +16, +14 shots right first action of the game just by drawing that. And on top of that, Ilvion says before Ilvion inflicts one or more wounds with a spell, the spell inflicts additional wounds. So he's doing the first strike +16. That's hitting just about everything in the second rank. Once it hits it, he reacts. All those strikes now inflict additional wound. So, okay, boom. Hits for 2. Then go to the next strike. Reacts again. Now all the strikes are doing 3 wounds. The third strike, if that hits, now everything's doing 4 wounds, and it keeps going up, and up. This was all first action of the game. That is absolute degeneracy, and kind of what is the main spirit of Ancient List preventing this, because it is just, you're not playing a game. Did you draw Evoke Crisis first action? If you do, you win. If not, okay, you have a tough time because you're playing a little, a 10 AC, 1 HP character that doesn't really do much, but Necromancers have ways to recur Cochrane, such as Sever Flesh or everything like that. So not necessarily over either. Tefroth might have some ways to kind of draw to it, but that was the deck that Josh ran. He ran it to the top 4 and lost in the top 4 to a Talib deck. Talib who can kind of redirect some things, so that's pretty cool. But he only lost. He would have won that matchup if he literally just paid attention. And he forgot to react with Cochrane at one point. And so all his strikes didn't gain a bonus when they easily could have. So he definitely should have been in the finals for sure. But that is just a very toxic combo. That is just draw 1 card and win. And what empowered that is Cochrane, because he made sure that all of your strikes were not missing. They're making so if you can still do this kind of crazy combo with Ilvion, but you have to shoot the first rank, then have to shoot the second rank, whereas the characters fall forward. Because Cochrane is killing himself to also gain the bonuses, he's creating that illegal rank for you and making Ilvion fall to the front. And really, that's what's really speeding up everything. So Cochrane was seen as the issue here. And he's only the issue because he starts in play. So we can hit this card that never sees play in starting armies unless it's doing some first action degeneracy BS like that. So we thought that this was a pretty safe card to just reserve. Reserve meaning it cannot start in play. You can run as many copies of it. You can run 3 copies of it, up to 3 copies in your deck to your heart's desire, but you cannot start it in your starting army. I think this is just kind of a no-brainer. It removes that first action win deck, which is what we see a lot of on the Ancients list already. There's just plenty of examples of that. And then, this card can still be played. So it's still an option that you can put in your deck. You just can't start it. Other examples that it kind of puts here is, Bronwyn Tanzik can also do it with Out of Step or Mental Assault. So that was there. Seems necessary, but boo anyway. Yeah, you sound like an elf player there, man. So that's what it is. That's why it gets hit. I think this is just kind of a safe, no-brainer. This was also, I think, unanimously decided upon. So there was no real contention. It was kind of like it was, let's understand this. And then it became clear once, you kind of explained how that deck kind of played. Because, again, not everybody may have seen that deck, but it's like, okay, this is possible. This exists. Let's get rid of it. So that was there. So I've been talking about things we've been taking away. Let's talk about things that people are getting back now. Nephilim Gargoyle. This card was originally hit as part of the Arcane Corteth issue where we talked about earlier in this video. Nephilim Gargoyle has a spin react to search your deck for any item and put it into your hand. He's also not unique, which is kind of an issue. But Belial, the Cleric Guildmaster, was also running him in that Arcane Corteth drop deck, where you're basically searching for the Monster Guide or the Heerman's Epic, which basically help you get Arcane Corteth and put him into play and really speed up the deck. So that was why Nephilim Gargoyle got hit in the first place. So now, once we decided that we're going to ban Arcane Quartet and just completely remove him, it was, does Nephilim Gargoyle still need to be banned at that point? And there's a lot of discussion there, like, all right, well, what's the worst thing that Nephilim Gargoyle can do? Can he search out for X combo piece and do things? Like, what about Y? Let's all challenge ourselves. Can we think of something broken right now? What is the most broken thing that Nephilim Gargoyle can kind of come out with? And everything that we kind of came and thought about, in that short period, were all sounded like, kind of sounds pretty okay and on par with every other Ancients deck. Like, one of the examples is Nephilim Gargoyle can search for Ring of Blasting. And then, now that one of epic card that you can't start and play in your deck, you can now get it by dropping Nephilim Gargoyle and speed up your combo deck to throw a big old spell with Rockholm or Loki and just one-shot it with a Dwarf Wizard. And we're like, okay, cool. That seems like our best idea. So you're saying that if we bring Nephilim back, we're empowering 2 warlords that hardly ever see play? This kind of sounds like a positive thing. So let's bring back Nephilim Gargoyle. And that's what we decided. Because we want to just be a little cautious here, it's coming from being banned. The next step is now it's being downgraded to be restricted. So you can only run one of it. Usually for most cases, you're only going to ever really need one of it. And even while you build your deck out, you're only going to probably need one copy. Having 3 of it's pretty cool because it's like, oh, cool, you can go 3 of it. But, he's out of parole. That's exactly the what he is now. It's kind of taking steps, So now you start with him being restricted. Who knows? Maybe next time we revisit this, we think, all right, cool. We've seen what 1 Nephilim Gargoyle goes. Now let's go to 3. Let's go back. And now we see he is a fully rehabilitated gargoyle who is now a great contributor to the Dwarven Society. But bringing him back in is something cool because, again, it's one of those like, oh, the Dwarves lost a card for the sins of Belial and Arcane Quartet. And now it's like, well, why don't we just actually lock up the criminal, not the wheelman? So the guy who robbed the bank, not the guy who drove the getaway car. That's what we're going for. So homeboy who drove the getaway car is now out in the streets, and the real robber is now no longer has an ankle bracelet on. He's just locked up. So Nephilim Gargoyle is back. Now comes a one. This is literally just for. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. So this is formally adding Limited Wish and Phoenix Feather to the Ancients ban list. The reason that this is happening is because every time we did our monthly online events, we'd always have to stipulate that Limited Wish and or Phoenix Feather are banned for this event. And then it's kind of like, why do we have to keep saying this? Let's just add it to the ban list and just kind of go with it there. The issue there, too, is kind of like, well, you want Limited Wish if there's going to be Challenge Lords, which is a very big part of our game history for sure. Any kind of thing, but there's no Ancients Medusan Lords. There's Ancients Dragon Lords. There's maybe an Ancients Overlord challenge happening every now and then, but, those aren't very prevalent anymore. It's not that big of an aspect of the game. So it's like, let's add it to the Ancients list, and then really for that, then if these cards are really only relevant or actually allowed in the challenge system, you can just have the challenge system have that exception on it. So like if someone's going to take a Dragon Lord challenge, like the runner can be like, yeah, you can just run Limited Wish, that's fine. Or like kind of take it then on that smaller level, because that's smaller sample size than our monthly events where you always have to kind of say it. So Phoenix Feather and Limited Wish are tied in that regard. They're those weird cards that you can rip. Obviously, we're just putting on there too because you shouldn't be ripping your Warlord cards. They're very expensive. They're not being printed currently as we speak. They're out of print, and they've been out of print for many, many years. So why the hell would you rip this card in half? What's wrong with you? Don't be a barbarian. You don't have the barbarian trait. You do not own a Airbnb in Detroit. Do not be a barbarian. So for that, let's just ban Limited Wish and Phoenix Feather and kind of take a common sense approach to it. So that's why that's on here. It was one of those suggestions that a Guardian threw out, and it's kind of like, yeah, fine. But I don't think anyone has any issues as long as, I'd say the only bad part I can see is like you have a dick runner. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Limited wish is not allowed to be used in the Dragon Lord challenge. You must now play your deck. And it's like, all right, cool. Like, we're going to risk that someone running a Dragon Lord is a goober. Whatever. All right, fine. If you're going to be a goober like that, you probably wish you could run Guile and Might. And we hit those cards because of people like you. Like, nah. Just let your challenger kind of have these cards. But that's why that's on there. So that is the list. And the only thing that they have left from this article is this little section that kind of says that you're the real MVP. So this is a little love letter from AJ, if you guys want to go read it. But the only thing I will kind of show here is this guy chose a stock photo that has a watermark on it. Like, as a professional marketer, I look at that and I just laugh. Like, this is how we steal the owner of this photos. We're just stealing their photo and being like, yeah, we're going to use it. But you know what? Yeah, your watermark's on it. So you get some credit. So shout out to 123RF who owns this stock photo and that the Saga the Storm site did not pay to use. But we could have just found any photo of some people being very happy. Just that, or just not put a photo in general. But I saw that with the article and I left. But that's really it. So now that comes down to the changes that we see. So there's a few things here that we need to talk about. So, okay, what was missed and what do all of these mean? So I can kind of give you my opinion on there. In terms of what is missed, I don't think necessarily anything was missed. I'm kind of starting to come along to one card that may have been missed. And now here it comes all in caps in the chat. So let's talk about the elephant in the room then is Winter Warfare. So card that may have been missed here is Winter Warfare. This card is very popular in a lot of Blitz decks. It's a Warlord only action that was part of the Santa Slayer. No, so the Winter. I think it was just a Winter Warfare promo pack where Soralin, Frost, Gothak originally were all in. This was one of those early on promos. So I think this was the Santa Slayer promo. Excuse me. So this is a spend order. Until the end of turn, characters may not move unless maneuvering or falling forward. Ready characters falling forward become stunned instead of spent. Spent characters falling forward suffer one wound in addition to becoming stunned. So this card has seen a lot of use in a Darami specifically. We saw it see play in the Fatraka deck that won. We saw it see play in a Tavish Jape deck that made the top 8. So 3 of these decks kind of had it. So this is one of those. Okay, let's look at it. So what does this card do? It completely neuters, decks that really rely on characters level 3 or level 4 or higher. Especially like a drag and drop deck or like a mid-range deck, like a Deverinian deck. That runs level 4 characters. You play this, you kind of hose them. Because now, as their characters are falling forward, they're really getting locked down. And then if they're able to put enough pressure on your ranks, while this is this global enchantment that can't be hit, same way kind of like Medusa's Might couldn't get hit, then it can completely sway the game. So this card, I can say, I clearly say, was considered for should this be hit? Should it be restricted? Should it be banned? Is this card something to do it? So right now it's on the unofficial watch list. And I could see it kind of almost getting the incentives treatment where, incentives wasn't hit, but maybe Winter Warfare gets hit down the line because there's a lot of strikes going against this card. Again, as we said, it's not a spell. So there's a lot of cancel target spell can't be doing it. It doesn't target. So that's also an issue. But then there's also things that kind of sway it to where, okay, maybe this card is fine. Maybe it is appropriately costed. Maybe it exists in the environment to kind of check something. Because this isn't an action that anyone can spend. It has to be your Warlord. Your Warlord has to spend it. And this drawback also affects you. So you have to kind of build around it. So then, you see it, for example, then if Winter Warfare is in your deck, and so someone over here, I think I saw it in chat, Top 8 was Zod and 7 fucking rush decks. Okay, well, if 7 of those rush decks are running Winter Warfare, that's now a dead card against most of your cut. So, like, in that case, all right, if decks are built to kind of handle it, like, and that's the thing, like, our decks now that Winter Warfare kill are getting greedy. Are they not running answers to it? Are they not playing around it? For example, if you are really savvy when someone plays Winter Warfare, obviously it's all a matter of they have to break your ranks. But what I see, and I've seen a lot of people misplay against Winter Warfare 2, is you can spend your characters forward. You can still maneuver and avoid falling into the Winter Warfare trap. A lot of people don't like doing that because they're like, well, I want to just do the spend order range strike that's on my level 2 character. Well, doing that, you're risking when they fall forward that they're just getting obliterated. Maybe you don't do that. So, like, maybe you spend forward to kind of solidify your ranks and you kind of take your actions very cautiously. But again, the other counter argument to that is, well, like Adarmi's doing it. So now Adarmi's coming with multiple strikes at high bonuses. Like, how can I really take these actions to do it? And you're right, it is tough, but I don't think it's impossible. Winter Warfare existed for so long without it really ever being a problem. Like, again, this card, what's the date on this thing? No, okay, this is the 10th anniversary one. The original promo, I want to take a look at the date there. Oh, look at this old one. Oh, it's so blurry, I can't even say. I want to say this was like 2002, I want to say. So it was one of the first ones. So it has existed for maybe almost, 2 decades and hasn't really been an issue. So there's that. And then it's one of those like, okay, well, is it that just people are choosing not to play around it and really just kind of want it removed? And so it's like, okay, well, maybe, hopefully people will play around it. Hopefully people will build decks to kind of deal with it. And then it phases out of the meta game. Like, if a lot of people aren't playing these greedy decks that run high ranks, then that's it. But then there's also now the counter argument too. It's like, well, there are cards on the restricted list like Into the Tunnels, which, let me pull that one up. So Into the Tunnels. This is on here because people think it leads to a non-interactive game, where it's like, okay, until the end of the turn, all characters must discard a card as an additional cost of any action that targets an opposing character. So sure, this affects both players, but you can only run one of this card because they felt like if you had 3 of it and you're running it 3 turns, you're just intentionally slowing the game down and really kind of like neutering any option that Blitz would have against you. So that's on the restricted list for that reason. So then in that case, you can make the same argument for Winter Warfare. Like that, this is really removing an archetype, which is like, mid-range or high-level character drop decks just completely get hosed by this. So the existence of this makes makes life for those decks harder. They have to be seer warlords that can play premonition against it. Or they have to be able to do something to where, hopefully they just don't draw it, or they're a Deveranian that's Ged Morak who says you can't play this card, like this. So there are very limited ways to kind of deal with this, but like you're kind of shoehorning that archetype to play a certain way instead of, and again, the idea is for we want players to play more of their cards and to play more things. So maybe Winter Warfare does get hit in the future. Maybe it should have been hit now. This is kind of a borderline one. So if there's ever an exception of a card that like, if there is one example, it's probably this. But it was considered and it was debated. And I think it is being watched. And so it would not surprise me if this card gets hit down the line. Especially now when we see how the rest of these changes come. If all of a sudden, like, we look at all these cards that got hit, they don't really affect the Darmy. They don't really affect Tavish Jape. Well, maybe because he played incentives. So like these are some top decks that didn't get touched by this update. Are those now going to be the clear winners? Are people going to go navigate to a certain other thing? We don't really know. So we can see like, all right, now, if that is the case, if that's what we missed, and now Adarmi is just running roughshod all over everybody, and Winter Warfare is the thing that's really making that happen, then okay, cool, you hit that. So I can see this happening. What are some other examples, folks? Trying to check chat to see any other cards other than Winter Warfare that you kind of want my opinion on. Drop it in chat. I will happily give some perspective on it. I can, while we're waiting for that, I can throw out a few other things too. Okay, here we go. Brother Domini was discussed. Was, in terms of if you need an example, when Darmy got discussed, it was, is there a way to hit Darmy? One of the ideas is reserving Brother Domini. So Domini cannot start and play. And the idea was, well, that just means that they're just going to search for Darmy next action and then drop it. I kind of like that because then that means like they're losing some tempo and they have to use that order to go get the Domini instead of some other multi-striker. So I kind of like that as a soft hit to a Darmy, but people didn't really see that as being very impactful. So, but I'm a fan of that. And then, even then, if you say a Darmy can't start and play, then most likely now a Darmy's going to start Lear Militia instead, which a lot of people are already doing anyway as their level 1s. But you know what? That's not as an aggressive start as going Domini double Spencer and just going roar. So I would be cool with that. There were other funny ones. Like I was like, hey guys, do we want to talk about Karachuk? Just because Karachuk and the Rotarius, like, hey, this is just kind of a weird situation where it has the same art, does almost the exact same thing, and it's just multiple things. And it's kind of like, yeah, it is a little weird, but it's not the only example. So let's not hit Karachuk. And plus, now we get into the faction things where it's like, oh, you're going to hit table, you're going to hit incentives, and now you're going to hit Karachuk too. It's like, you want to just ban Nothrogs, and it's like, okay, whatever. I think that's fine. Karachuk, though, is something that hits everybody. But you know what? It's a good thing you don't hit Karachuk, because if how you're saying we didn't hit a Darby, Karachuk is the answer to a Darby. That's what it is. Stop, make those level 1s come into level 2 and watch them cry, or start running Bahia. So there you go, like that. NPE trash. Note for anybody watching my video. Just because you lose to something doesn't make it an NPE. Some people will say, yes, losing is a negative play experience. No shit, nobody likes losing. But that is not the definition of an NPE. Amends. Okay, so the issue to hit amends. Let's look up this person. Amends was not discussed. I can say that for the Guardians. Nobody felt strongly about this card. Can be a problem in a Blitz version of King Zod. So I know we kind of focus on the Uber version, but there is a version of King Zod that, basically uses his order to go search out some steeds, get to the front rank with King's Lady or Gerard's Heirloom, and then use Amends to basically get 2 attacks first action. So Amends is a very popular thing about it, but I don't think he necessarily needs to get hit. Maybe reserve him, if anything. I could see that as something that, it's not an awful idea. But it's Amends has a 15 AC. There's ways to hit him. So I think he's fine as is, but it's an interesting suggestion, I'll say. Okay, Aresh. All right, I could talk about this one. Good old Aresh. Let's talk about this bad boy. So Aresh, I think I brought it up in one statement and just decided that I think he's only a problem in 4th edition and not in Ancients. But we can talk about this. So, Aresh Krishedim. Take a look at that big old massive text box. Let me just tell you the short version. He's every single class. He can only ever take 1 wound. Whenever he hits somebody with a strike, he turns them into thralls. And he can use them to pay the cost of his actions. But the key thing that he has here is order, kill a thrall, draw a card, or move a demon forward 1 rank. So he is an Overlord or Daemon Lord, and that came in 4E. Gracchus is saying he's a Medusan Lord because, again, this is probably the most overpowered Overlord that has ever been created. He is better than some Medusan Lords, I will say. He is an insanely powerful card. When you drop him in a Chosen deck, it's essentially game over. Especially in 4th edition. That was my tech to try and kill Atu, the Fallen, at Gen Con. It was using a tier 2 to drop Aresh first action, using Eresh's Order, which is not once per turn, just constantly killing your thralls and drawing cards to completely draw out your entire deck. And then, once you have 0 cards left in your deck, you then just play this lowly little level 1 thrall called Duana. You can have as many of those in your deck as you want, but react before Duana is killed. Shuffle her into your deck after she dies. So once you have 0 cards in your deck and you have Eresh on the field and you play Duana, you have now won the game because you can generate an infinite number of +0 melee strikes. Basically, you play Duana in rank 1, you spend Duana to perform a melee strike, +0 at whoever. It doesn't matter, roll it. Your next action is to kill Duana with Eresh's ability. Duana reacts first, shuffles herself into the deck. Then Eresh, with the ability, chooses to draw a card. So there's only 1 card in your deck, the Duana you just shuffled. So you draw it, and you put it down on the board again, you swing again, do another strike, and then you just keep doing that until your opponent is dead and you roll enough 20s to kill them. So that is an infinite combo. I was trying to do that against Atu, and I had a very good chance. I will not call out a certain individual who may have had the potential to get that infinite combo against Atu when they borrowed my deck and misplayed it. But that didn't happen, and then luckily Rolo went and killed it with Kerberos, which is probably a better way to destroy it. So kudos to Rolo. Happy it did not die to that cheese. But in 4E, it is very easy to draw out your deck, especially by turn 2. So now it was kind of, now this infinite combo exists. And Eresh is a problem in 4th edition. But we don't really play 4th edition as the main event, right? So if we ever play 4th edition, you could always just say Eresh is banned, as it should be. So I think I said that. It was kind of like, hey, we don't need to talk about Eresh unless we actually just, if we ever play 4E, let's just make sure he's banned. And it was kind of like, yeah, sure. But you can do this in Ancients. I have a deck that can do this in Ancients, especially now that you're getting rid of Medusan Lord's Might. You don't have to worry about someone calling Eresh with Medusan Lord's Might and completely removing it from the game and having no way to do that. But you can, there's a lot of draw cards in Ancients that can do that, but there's also a lot of answers to you drawing your cards. There's also a lot of things that stop Duana as well. There's also a time limit that kind of do that. So should this card have been hit, I could see an argument for Eresh being hit in Ancients and just, he just has bad news written all over him and probably shouldn't do it. But also at the same time, you look at what faction he's in. He's a Chosen. The Chosen really don't have anything going for them in Ancients. They have the smallest card pool. You never see them. We didn't even see them played in the online championship, I don't think. So, like, they need all the help they can get. So it's like, okay, if they have this one broken thing that has answers to it, that's fine. So but he's on my personal watch list. I personally am worried about this card. So, like, he can be an issue, yes. But I think there's enough answers in Ancients to make it where this isn't just, it's kind of a feels bad infinite combo. Like, when you do it against a certain player, they're kind of looking at it like, that's fucking stupid. But, like, and they feel really bad because they just lost to it. But it is something you have to work for. You have to draw out your entire deck. You can do that by turn 2 easily. But if somebody has like a Staff of Secrets, you better have an answer for it. If somebody drops a Regin, then that's the end of you. Or if someone has a way to stop Duana, like someone plays Morgan's Coils, those Duanas now have to make a DC 15 check. And now it's like, all right, they have to keep doing that. But if they need to roll a 20, they now need to roll the DC 15 check and the 20. So eventually they can keep going and eventually do that. But they might not be able to do it because also there's a time limit in the round. Theoretically, someone could just be like, all right, cool, roll it out. You got what? How much time we got left in the round? You got 20 minutes left? Go ahead and see if you can do it fast enough. Please play out each of your actions. Please give me my option to pass. And that can get stupid, but that's also a way to stop it. So that might be more of a reason to hit Eresh than anything else right there, just to kind of stop silliness. I would be in favor of this. He needs to go. All right, but then so that's that, and then again, now what do I think this happened? What is the impact here of all these cards that we talked about on this update? I think at the end of the day, I think I think at the end of the day we had a healthy Ancients environment even before this. And then I think we're still going to be fine here. We got rid of a few problem cards. I'm always in favor of changes on the Ancients list, even if it's just a way to kind of freshen up the meta. Like, I'm in favor of kind of taking those risks. That's not what we've traditionally done, the Guardians as a whole. So, like, I'm an outlier there. But the idea is kind of one of those, like, only go light-handed, like, fix it if it's a problem. But I would be cool if we, like, hit cards just to kind of change up the meta. But there's other ways you can do that anyway. That we do kind of do that on a monthly basis with the different types of events that we do. But what do all these change? So it removes some real negative experiences in terms of MLM. That I think is going to be big in terms of, like, I don't think it'll necessarily impact the meta, but just removing that kind of enables combo decks and has them kind of come in without the worry if someone's going to play this anti deck, and it's not gonna. So that is kind of in there. Incentives, you just kind of hit the card there. You're changing up some of this errata stuff, like Arcane Cortez Cerebral, like the 10 MRPs and hold on, let's see, and like the Limited Wish and Phoenix Feather. Those are just like whatever. That's not really that big. That's just not going to really impact much. Removing the first action Cochrane deck is just a positive thing. I don't think that shakes up necessarily the meta. Nephilim Gargoyle, I like. Again, it's more cards that now dwarves can play. So it's really cool. Zod, that's kind of where I think this is. I think this does hit Zod enough to where he's still really good. He's still something that dwarf loyalists can still play. And he obviously is still a really good deck, still a tier 1 deck. But now it encourages people to play against it. So I think that's a positive thing. So I think that this will be a good effect there. I think the altar will ultimately be a good hit historically. I think we'll start seeing some pretty cool level 2 characters other than just the altar hit play, and people still get to play their altar. Incentives, it makes Fatraka still like a really good deck. Like, a Fatraka will still be a tier 1 deck. Even with only 1 altar and 1 incentives, it is still an absolute bomb of a deck, but it is a little less consistent, which is cool. So I think that'll be positive. I think a lot of people are frankly going to go with Darmy, right? Darmy and Tavis are now going to be the decks that everyone kind of looks at and be like, oh, cool. This was a top tier deck that no one hit. I'm just going to run that. And what I think the savvy players are going to do are going to just, okay, cool. If I know the one top tier deck that you all think is now best because we didn't hit Winter Warfare, that's the deck you play to absolutely murder. And then they are going to get their ass kicked, and you're going to make a deep run. And then, again, it might come down to some bad pairings or whatever, but I see a Darmy and Tavis will still be popular Ancients decks. But I think combo is also going to come back, so I like that. I think this will ultimately be, fine. I don't think this necessarily impacts the meta too much, though, and I think that's totally fine. Because again, I think we had a healthy Ancients environment to begin with, and I think that's what we're going to end up with all these changes. I can see some of them being reverted. I can see more things being added. And when we do that, and that's the ultimate goal here, and the ultimate takeaway is everything on here can be undone. Anything we missed can be added. It's just, at certain times and at appropriate times. But I think right now we're kind of where we're at. I still think we still have a fun Ancients format and still think it's the format for everyone to play. And that'll do it, guys. That'll do it for this Ancients update. So for those watching, thank you again for anyone who came in live and done that. We're going to reward you by going to the giveaway. But obviously for anyone watching the VOD, if you want to watch me open up some packs, you're free to kind of stick around. But let me know what you think in the comments section, guys. Let me know if you disagree with any of these opinions that I threw out. If you think that there's other cards that got missed. If you want my interpretation of a deck, interpretation of... Yes, there is a giveaway, don't worry. Interpretation of, any of the... what do I think about this in Ancients now? What do I think about why didn't we hit this card? Or did you really consider this when hitting this card? Like, if you have anything like that, feel free to throw it out. I'll happily share my opinion on that, guys, and kind of talk to you about it. But that will do it for this Ancients update. So still love me some Ancients. Let's now move to the giveaway, folks, for those who were able to join me live. Otherwise, again, VOD people, you are just going to watch me open up some packs. So let's go to the giveaway. So usually what I do is give away packs to my opponent whenever we play online. And you guys are going to see me do this conversation as I stand up. I'm doing more streams where I'm sitting down. Almost always I stream while standing. It's better for your back, guys. Back health is very important at your old age. But I just had to fix that. So we still have packs of counterattack. We're still doing the repost count. So that's all still happening here. Let's give away. Normally, again, I just give it away to the person I'm playing, but that person ain't here. So we're going to give away a pack to one of you fine folks. So first things first, if you are watching this stream live and you have made a comment in the last 15 minutes, you are eligible for this giveaway. We're going to open up a pack of counterattack. It's a quality card. It's yours. I'm going to mail it to you. I owe someone a foil Sever the Flesh, which we pulled last stream. Good old Wyvern. Check out his Twitch, by the way. He'll be linked in this description. Also stream some more content. But he's going to get some, that's going there. So we already have some good cards. You guys can get those cards if you pull them. But if they're absolute crap, they stay with me. I ain't wasting the stamp sending that to you guys. Get out of here. They stay here in the loot box, which I eventually will give away again. I promise. But let's actually turn on Nightbot so you all can see. Please work. Hey, there we go. So if you see your name on the left side, you are eligible. If your name's not there and you're hearing my voice at this very moment, that means you need to type something into this chat. Finally got my cards, Chris. Thank you, sir. Wait, what? It took forever for you to get your cards?
Undercard deck.
You didn't tell me that you could get it? Oh, man, dude. Something really happened there. I mailed those out months ago. But, yikes. I'm happy that those cards finally got to you then, dude. But either way, I still owe some people some cards. That pile over there is starting to pile up again. I need to do it more regularly. But I do get these out to people. There's proof. So yeah, yes, I know, Sandy. Yes, I know you have a big stack, and you were literally under 10 miles away from me, and I can literally just you literally work a couple 100 feet from my office, and I can just walk it to you. But it's kind of fun. You will get it by November 19th. If anyone is attending the November 19th Warlord event in New Jersey, and I owe you cards, I will deliver to you personally. And even if I don't owe you cards, check out the tournament in. I forgot. There are some details posted on Discord of where this next New Jersey tournament is going to be on November 19th at 3 p.m. in Howell, New Jersey. Details are, I'll post them somewhere. But if you're looking at this and you want to come play Warlords, even if you don't even have any cards, just show up the day of. I'll give you a deck and we'll have some fun. But I've vamped long enough. Anyone on this side over here is eligible to get a pack. So we're going to give it away. Here we go. Going once, going twice. Okay, it goes to sound alerts, which should not be included. So I'm going to re-roll it. And it's going to Reclesis. Okay. Set for anyone who's like, who the hell is sound alerts? That is literally
Undercard deck.
There you go. That exactly. There is a 100-card deck there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look at this. Redeeming the rigged. I know the way how latency works. You definitely call the rig when it went to sound alerts, but no. Okay. Now it's going to Reclesis. So, if you guys enjoy watching somebody make speed runs, check out Reclesis on Twitch. Really awesome content. Reclesis, what game are you speedrunning now? I know you do a lot of Resident Evil, but I've seen some other games. Let our chat know so that they can check you out. But I'm going to pick a pack for you, and we're going to crack it open. First, I need to move this camera so that, and move this mic so I'm within reaching range. Let's go here. This feels good. This feels right. Come on. It's so heavy I can't pull it out. All right. Boom. Resident Evil, Final Fantasy, Legends, King's Quest 6. See? Whole bunch of other games, guys. Go check it out. Boom. Right now, let's check out this pack. Let's see what we got. We're looking for cards that say repost on it. Oh, and I can already see a card that has repost on it. Let's start with that uncommon. Bam. Let's get that down. All right, uncommons are down. I know I just showed you guys a card that's going to have repost, so try and act surprised. I think it's this one, right? Yeah. Boom. Brunter's Axe. That card has repost. Brunter's Guitar. That's pretty cool. So we are looking for cards that say repost on it. So whenever I see one, I'm going to make sure it's counted, guys. But those are the uncommons, the rares down. And here comes the commons. Starting us off with an Abyssal Vermin. Gene Court Initiate. Zin's Attention. Oh, those are some power cards right now. Sken. Iralos, the old beat artwork. Messir and Dagger. And Nothing to Lose. Alrighty, you got some real good commons there to start off. Zin's Attention, Gene Court Initiate, Iralos, all absolutely great cards. So uncommons, we already got Brunter's Axe. That was an Urchant. He's down there on the... I am not bending over to pick up Urchant. We got Hellion. Hellion doesn't have that. Okay, cool. So all those have happened. Now we have the rare. We got to see what's going on there. So let's see, folks. What do we got for Reclasis? Do we have something good? We have... Ooh, what's this card again? Beast Knight's Armor. Look at this. This is where Gracchus the Old starts telling us about Deverinians. Beast Knight's Armor. Level 7 fighter item. +2 attack, +2 AC. Armor. Evil characters only. React. After a character misses this fighter with a melee strike, spend the Beast Knight's Armor. Perform a skill check, DC 17. If successful, inflict a wound on the opposing character. So, my thought on Beast Knight's Armor. I remember this seeing play in Campaign Edition. I would never see this. I don't think this sees play at all ever in Ancients. There's so many other better fighter armors that you can put on. One that I always encourage everybody is Darkhide Armor to make sure that you live and multi-wounding doesn't just murder you. It relies, first of all, you have to be an evil character, so it's already very narrow. The react requires you to spend the armor, so it's only one shot and done. You got to make a DC 17 check. You know, average fighter skill is going to be like 6, so it's about a 50-50 shot that you can just auto wound somebody who targeted you with a melee strike. The fact that they have to target you with a melee strike is the issue. If they target you with like any action, I can see this being cool. But I think that one's a little weak. I don't think this is a winner. Reclasis has never seen it before, so that is also telling. While I do like to react, there are so many other better armors. Yes, I agree. It's not an absolute garbage card, but it's not a card that sees play. In like a limited format, in like if you were like, let's just take a bunch of packs and some starter decks and like build some decks and go with it, I could see that being played, but you also have to have like an evil fighter. So, but it's still pretty cool. So I'm not upset to see it, but I don't think we have a W. So the only prize you get, Reclasis, is the free plug to check out your Twitch. There you go, which you've posted in chat. Awesome. Check it out, guys. All right, and that Urchant is still on my floor. He will eventually be absorbed into the loot box. Let's give away one more pack. We always go for a twofer. So since I don't have an opponent, another one's going to you folks. So here we go, guys. Reclasis is not eligible. Neither is Sound Alerts. So there's currently 5 of you. 20% chance? That's pretty good. That's more of a percentage than it is for you to draw incentives turn 1 after this Ancients update. So I'll give one last chance for y'all to jump on in. So I will take a sip of water, and by the time I finish this, I'm going to roll it off. ASMR right there. Yeah, talking for this long does dry out your throat. Really? Okay, there we go. Zypunk, I'm glad you made it in time, but you also said it's rigged. Gracchus sucks. There we go. Now that's a W right there. Let's see what we got, folks. We're going. This is the last pack, so let's see what we got. Hit and roll it. Boom. It's going to Gracchus. Look at that. 100 card deck. He won it before he cheered the bits, and then he cheered the bits anyway, so it worked out. So there we go. Gracchus deal. Look at that Invoke Doom as his little icon. I guess that's his Twitch user icon. That's pretty cool. So there we go. We have a pack. So you guys can't even see those packs. Now you can. There you go. He's celebrating with some fat kid up in here. Yeah, we know it's rigged. I love it. No one wants to see Gracchus win. Get out of here. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, cool. I just thought I saw something flash on my screen that would have been really bad, but I think everything's all good. You all are still here. I see you all commenting. So, okay, cool. I see comments coming in. We're good. So I'm going to pick a pack for you, Gracchus. Let's just go into this large stack here just to try and even these out. Boom. Put this away. We don't need this anymore for tonight. Boom. What do we got? Let's open it up. Let's open it up. Ooh, okay. I like that I get to see like that first uncommon. Putting them down. Put down that rare. Let's take a look. Wyvern's Talon. Then we got a Slag Gargoyle. Okay, got some good level 1 characters. Nothing to lose. Miss Seer and Daggers, looking familiar. Nalia Calyx. Falter Stones. And Return Fire. A lot of level 1s. No repost, though. Checking it out on Uncommons. What do we got? Sethra the Spark. All right, there we go. Gracchus is happy. Deverinians. Pain Conduit. That's an absolutely good. That's a really good uncommon. That is, that lets you do abusive things. Healing Pact on the Ancients ban list because of Pain Conduit. Then Skash, the old original art Skash. I like that. But none of that matters. Here we go. We gotta check this rare. He's looking for Lord Argon. Let's see if he gets it. What do we got? Pow. A Carcass Worm. Okay. There it goes. Wyvern was just on our stream looking for a card. So this is an absolute W. Any kind of dragon, just like a Warlord, is usually a W. Look at that. Pack fresh dragon, folks. Let's talk. Oh, okay. It has a little bit of whitening at the top. This is not going to be PSA 10 there, Gracchus. AEG, owes you an apology. It's got some whitening on the edges, but it does look pretty good. Carcass Worm, let's talk about it. Level 6 Evil Wizard. It's a mercenary. +9, +5 for strikes, 19 AC, 13 skill, 4 HP. It is a mercenary, unique, dragon, undead, necromancer. It's got a lot of stuff. He can't equip items because he's a dragon. He's got really big claws. He can't really hold things. React. After Carcass Worm hits with a melee strike, the target must make a poison save, DC 15, or lose 2 levels permanently. Kill the target if this reduces him below level 1. Order once per turn. Move forward or backward 1 rank. The traditional dragon flying. So this absolutely sees play. In the CE tournament, we saw Carcass Worm hit play multiple times. He can equip Poison Talons. Okay, yes. Because he can put poison on his talons. Yes, that is true. So, Dragon Drops, he's not one of the best dragons. The fact that he's a necromancer is cool, and I remember before Field of Bones, since we're talking about Ancients here, Field of Bones is on the Ancients ban list because of Carcass Worm could also cast Field of Bones because it was a necromancer, which is really cool. But that's really the kind of coolest thing it's got going. Otherwise, 19 AC, 4 HP is pretty cool. It's a level 6 dragon. It's either him, Black Wind is there. Like, those are like the level 6s. Siren Spawn. Carcass Worm is kind of up there. So, it's really good. You're usually gonna run like a copy of him anyway. Like let's say you run one of each of those dragons, you'd be totally fine. The level 7s is where they start getting cool. Ashran and Terra Shard, my personal favorites, especially Terra Shard, is probably my favorite dragon that we got here. His artwork is badass. The little green wormling with like in the fog. Like I really love that card. But Carcass Worm is a W. Doesn't have repost though, so the repost count still stays at 10, folks. But Night Mist, Night Mist doesn't have the order move forward, which annoys me. It has a spend order to go 2 ranks. That's dumb. Because he has to work really hard to phase out of his existence. He doesn't use his, ethereal wings. But yeah, absolute W, Gracchus. I think I owe you another card already. So this is just being added to your loot pile that you got. Not the loot box, but your loot pile. Sanji has a pretty expansive loot pile, but now Gracchus is starting to grow it. So very nice, guys. Happy to see a dragon pulled here. But that'll do it for the giveaway. So again, we're gonna wrap up the stream now. If you're watching the VOD, thank you for watching this. Again, leave any comment for anything on the Ancients update that you want me to comment on, or just let me know I'm wrong. That's totally fine. Always remember, guys, whenever it comes to the Ancients format, it's always Woodrow's fault. That's all we'll say. Those are my closing words. But thanks to everybody who hung out in chat. Thanks for everybody who subbed. Gracchus gifting out subs. Celtic, Sanjington, you guys are awesome. All those bits you cheered, Gracchus, really appreciate it. Anyone, even if you didn't support that, thanks for coming by, hanging out, guys. Always fun, man. So that'll do it. Next stream for me, let's talk about that before I kind of wrap it up. So the next tournament is going to be a Jautia Sign tournament with Ancients in there. So I'll be streaming some matches there. So that's the next one coming up. I think you can check the Saga of the Storm site for when that's coming if you guys want to jump in, build a deck for that. That's cool. If you ever need help building that deck too, shoot me a PM as well. You would not be the first nor the last to do that. So just kind of reach out. Happy to do that. But I'll be streaming those games. I think I already got my deck built, ready to go. Because I think I got a cool one. I like it. I will tell you right now for Jautia Sign, the first deck I built, which I'm not going to run, was to make Temple of Lore my Warlord. And it was really goofy. Like, all my characters were getting bonuses equal to their level, and that's all the Warlord did. And I just dropped the mercenaries and like did that. But you can't have consistency in your ranks to do it. You have to run level 3s mostly, and then 4s are really like level 5s because they come in 1 rank higher. It was really tough, and it wasn't really that good, but it was really funny. So I am not running that. But you can do crazy things like that. And I look forward to seeing what the community can do. But I got one that's a little bit more just straightforward and good. Gracchus is pointing out some of the top ones right there. Definitely look at those. If you don't want to think and build a deck, those are the ones to build. But neither of those are ones I'm running. But I'll be doing that. And then after that, there's a crazy format that's happening with double Warlords in open format, in multiplayer format. That's in December. I will not be playing that event. I'm gonna make that announcement there. It's just one of those like one, it's like that format doesn't really excite me, but also more importantly, I've been kind of looking to kind of take a month off. This is something that I like. I know, like Sly Fox, who a fellow Warlord streamer from Germany. Check out his channel, Sly Fox Live, as well. For any kind of some extra Warlord content. But that was something that he and I talked about months ago. It's kind of like he took a month off too. He's like, yeah, man, just sometimes like playing Warlord games online, like all your tournament days, like it can wear you down. He's just like, there was one tournament, I forgot which one, where he's like, yeah, I just really didn't want to build a deck for it. And I was like, you know what? I need a month off just to recharge and come back revigorated. So he's like, Vac, you should really do that. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. And then all these other tournaments that came out, I was like, yeah, this looks really fun. But like multiplayer for me is something, even though ironically I am the winningest doubles player in Warlord history, I do not look forward to playing. And I love the list as well, those list games. I do not like this double Warlord multiplayer format. So it's like, all right, this is the opportunity for me to take a month off. But that doesn't mean I'm going to take a month off of content. I am going to do other types. I'm going to now, it's like, all right, cool. I'm not going to play in this tournament. So that means I have time to do other things, which there have been a few other types of streams that I've been looking to do. Like obviously right now, like I'm just kind of talking to you guys about Warlord. I'm going to do more of those in December. So look out for content there. I got a few ideas floating in my head. I'm not going to necessarily commit to anything, but I'm going to do some deck building ones. I'm going to do some ones where you kind of just talk about maybe some like tips or tricks that maybe something newer players might not see, that, you know, something like me who's been playing this game for 20 plus years, you know, like I kind of know it, but it's not necessarily self-evident. So I can do a stream just kind of talking about some examples of those and showing those. I could cover some commentary games of those top four, of those multiplayer games. That's also technically on the table, but I wanted to like take December to do more content like that. So the reason I'm talking so long about that is not to shit on that December event, but if there is an idea that for a stream that you've always wanted to see, you want to see Vac talk about this topic, or I really wish someone would explain X to me about Warlord, let me know. I will dive into it. I'm starting to kind of get that list together of the streams I want to do in December. That is not allowed by Twitch, Gracchus. So, but I'm going to do more things like that. So just, if you have any suggestions, shoot them over to me in a PM on Discord. You just got to look for That Tool on YouTube is my username there. So you can find me, or just leave a comment in the description of this video. Let me know what you guys want to see, because I'm going to pull up a list and I'm going to start getting some things together, because these streams, they're not as easy to make as I make it look, guys. I'm just that good. What can I say? Nah, I am nothing without you guys. I would just be a sad, pathetic person talking to himself on camera if it wasn't for you guys. So let me know what you guys want to see, and I'll be happy to take care of it. But until then, until Jotty assign, I should say, have a good one and take it easy. Bye-bye, everybody.